This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
As we welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Stormy, Buonantony, and this dancing fool, Dustin Swedelson over here.
Look, I've been on every other show since my program, Cashing Out, is on hiatus.
Yes.
And what I've come to find out is I like everyone else's theme song better than my own show. Maybe because I'm like numb to it, but yours is pretty cool because it's chill, laid back, it's a vibe. A lot of the other ones are a little bit more intense. I'm enjoying it. It's a good energy here.
Thank you. I agree. We do have a good one, but it's funny you say that and that you were bopping your head the way you were because earlier this morning I popped on a numbers game for a segment with Gil, and I was kind of vibing their song at the beginning too.
But that's a little bit of like brainwashing from the ground up because it's been that song for so long that like it brings up good nostalgic memories of the past. You're like, oh, I'm just familiar with this. It makes me feel good.
Maybe. But it was a fun spot with them earlier, talking a lot of hockey, which we'll do plenty of throughout the course of the day today. Massive Game 5 on deck between the Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes. Lots of basketball, baseball, so much to get into, so might as well just set the table with what's to come. Time to run it down.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
I probably should have made like a sexier headline for our first bullet point in today's rundown other than Friday usuals, but our guest list is what it is pretty much every Friday, and I'm pumped for it because we've got some studs as usual. VSiN Host analyst Will Hill is going to join us, NBA analyst, host of Hardwood Handicappers, Zach Cohen, going to help us break down all things Spurs Thunder, and then, of course, the maestro, Mike Palm, in 15 minutes.
I don't know why the word usuals looks weird to me. I know it's spelled correctly. Yeah. There's just something about it. It just seems off.
Fun fact about me, it is my dream to be like a regular somewhere so that I could come in and say I'll have the usual. Or if someone will ask me, would you want the usual? Yeah, that's all I want.
I grew up watching Cheers thinking that Norm was the coolest person on earth, only to grow up and realize that's the biggest loser in the world. Guy doesn't want to be around his family and get drunk every night with his friends. Like, come on.
And yet, that's going to be me tonight. No, just kidding.
No offense to anyone who's out there who does that. No offense.
Also, of course, as I mentioned already, big Game 5 on deck. We will preview the potential Kings closeout here. They win in a shutout on Wednesday to take a 3-1 series lead. Carolina with a chance to storm surge their way to the final for the first time in 20 years, and they're as high as minus 260 to do it tonight.
That's a big price.
Yep.
That's a spicy meatball, and also home ice doesn't matter. We are now going back to Carolina. I've got vibes. Speaking of vibes, my vibes are Montreal makes it interesting. I don't think they win the series, but I think they might be live tonight.
Speaking of home ice not mattering, let's see exactly what this number is. Road teams, 40 and 35 in the playoffs. So that doesn't tell you. I don't know what does. But let's start in the NBA because the Spurs are staying alive. They hit 8 triples in the first quarter last night to set the tone, but still a close game at half. San Antonio then runs away with it in the third quarter, literally a 20-0 run for San Antonio. Never looked back. They outscore the Thunder 32-13 in the third. Your final score, Dustin, 118-91. Cover the 3.5 with these, a 27-point win, and the under stays for any number you had.
This series has been about patience, perseverance, and discipline. And I'm only talking about myself, not subscribing to the OnlyFans girl sitting behind Mitch Johnson every day.
Can we be done with that? Come on. Let's move on. Well, I mean, maybe that's like the one female at the network just saying
at some point, the ROI isn't worth it because those tickets cost so much. There's no way there's enough people subscribing. I'm sorry. No offense. No, but reality is what we got last night.
Does anyone know their names yet, by the way? So
do you think I don't know their names?
Oh, God.
You think I didn't find them out immediately?
Good Lord.
What are you talking about? I didn't dabble.
And now he's lost his train of thought.
I didn't dabble. They're okay. Honestly, they're okay. Anyway, the game last night, not okay. Wembanyama, I thought he was going to be mentally weak. I thought maybe we were seeing cracks in the armor. My man came out and made a statement. Yep. I love the energy. I loved wanting the moment, taking over the game. And really, the discussion to be had going forward for me is San Antonio, the kids, not scared of this situation, not scared with the season on the brink, stepping up at home. I know I said Oklahoma City was going to win and the series was over. Maybe I'm flip-flopping here because I was wrong about that and I'm being too reactionary. I think San Antonio's the playing Game 7 right now.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for San Antonio having more variety of ways to attack them offensively right now. I'm looking at Oklahoma City, and this is a question that is probably going to make people uncomfortable, and they're going to hate me, and that's fine. People already hate me. I hate myself. That's why I go to therapy every week.
Whoa, that got deep.
Yeah, I know. Is SGA good at basketball? Genuine question. Is he good at actual basketball? Because take the free throws away. Take the foul baiting away. Take away the double-digit free throws every single game. How good is he? I think he's good, but maybe not at the level we've all put him now as a back-to-back MVP.
I think he's great. I think this is a matchup problem because San Antonio, throughout the course of the season, has given OKC struggles. Have they not? You look at the numbers for him last night, though. This is bad. He was a game worst, minus 28 on the court, 15 points, 4 assists, 6 of 18 shooting. Fourth straight game now that he's been held sub 40% from the floor in this. And when you compare that to some of the regular season numbers, think about this guy. Again, back-to-back MVPs. He was shooting just shy of 55% on the year. But first 2 rounds of this series, shot 51% from the field, 32% from 3. Against San Antonio this series, 38% from the field, 26% from 3.
Yeah, that's Stephon Castle. He is not top 50% shooting in this series after doing that in the regular season, 30-plus points, under 30 in all but 2 of these games. It's the team defense. It's the Wembanyama factor at the rim, making things difficult for him to try to get there and get those easy buckets at the rack. You're right. It is a difficult matchup. I'm probably being a little too hard on SGA.
Well, real quickly, but just to also say, and no A.J. Mitchell, and you get Jalen Williams back, and he only gives you 10 minutes and does a whole lot of nothing.
Totally. And then the role players played better for San Antonio at home, which is what we're expecting. I got to tell you, there's a few players on this Spurs team that maybe I didn't watch them enough during the regular season, but they've blown me away in the playoffs. One is Castle. I think Castle is like an elite two-way superstar, and I kind of underestimated his impact on the defensive end, but offensively, he can do everything. Secondly, Julian Champagnie. That dude makes an impact. Whenever they need someone to step up, it feels like Champagnie comes through, whether it's stopping a run or making a play on defense. I really like him as well. And then Devin Vassell. I think he has been tremendous. He's blocking shots left and right. He's totally unheralded. He kind of is someone you don't notice all the time with so many other like really up-and-coming superstars in this team. I think he's had his imprint on a lot of these wins for the Spurs here. Really, really gutsy performance by them at home. 37% from 3. That's exactly what you're looking for. But most importantly, it's Wemby. It's the attitude. It's the vibes now for the Spurs.
And he came out on a mission, too, in that first quarter, right? Like 11 points, guns ablazing, 5 rebounds, a steal, and a block on the day. He does end up going over the points prop despite just the 28 minutes, which I'll get back to that in a second. But 28 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 3 steals on that final stat line. The minutes point and getting to rest because this game got out of hand, I think, is huge for San Antonio going into that Game 7. Because all of the conversation that we had coming out of last game was Wemby looks tired, is fatigue setting in. For him to have that performance and get the rest, I think is significant going into this final.
Even more importantly, with the rest, it appears Dylan Harper may finally be healthy.
Yes.
So then he gets to rest and be at 100% for the next game, Game 7. I think that kid looks like an absolute superstar in the making. The fact that he's a rookie and he's in these crucial games, playing big-time minutes, making an impact, that speaks volumes about where his career is heading and why they're going to eventually have to trade De'Aaron Fox at some point in that contract. But I think that is a great point by you, is that them getting to rest, where they looked absolutely burnt out in Game 5, now they'll be a little bit peppier for a Game 7 on Saturday. But more importantly, can we talk about the real impact of this series? Because the New York Knicks once again benefit from a team having to play 7 games in a series.
Yep.
You go back, the last 2 teams they faced coming off 7-game series, it's never happened before. A team sitting there waiting to take on this many teams. Now, the Sixers, the Cavs, now either the winner of the Western Conference Final, the Thunder, or the Spurs, all of them coming off 7-game series. The Knicks absolutely, positively, despite being dogs in Game 1, they need to win Game 1.
The margin of victory that the Knicks have had since being down 2-1 to the Hawks, they have been on an insane tear. Now, while getting the rest advantage is a positive for them, we do have one negative, a big development for the big man in New York. Mitchell Robinson reportedly suffering a broken right pinky finger, according to Shams Charania. No timetable for his return here. And considering the Karl Anthony Towns foul trouble issues and stuff, he's really important in terms of a depth piece for them. That said, can we talk about the Knicks a little bit later? I am still not done on the Game 7 element of this. We haven't even told you the spread yet for it coming up tomorrow. Thunder laying 3.5, total to 12.5. And I want to talk about this total for a second. In Game 7s, entering this postseason, 18 of the last 25 games had gone under. And that's a big narrative standpoint, right? We think Game 7, rock fight, low-scoring, tight defensive game. This postseason, however, totals 4-0 to the over. Why is that? Sportsbooks know what we know. They know we want to play the under, so they therefore adjust. The total in this game, I just told you, 212.5. The average total for the rest of the series has been 218.5. Are we getting too out of hand here?
I think we are, because my initial thought is under, because you have two defensive-minded teams. You're going to Oklahoma City, where the anticipation for me would be that San Antonio's offense doesn't look as crisp. But that number is, I thought we were going to be looking at a 215, 214.
When we talked about this before we came on the air, you go, so what is that total? 215.5? I said 212.5.
212, we've gone too far. I think we're going to see some over money come in. And then maybe at some point you can think about a better under. I don't think this thing's going to get pushed down. I think it only gets pushed up potentially here between now and tip-off. At 3.5, though, I think I'm on the Spurs.
I don't know. We can talk about this more a little bit later, but I lose the minus 3.5 on OKC yesterday. I kind of want to go back to the well, to be honest with you. I was looking at some of the numbers for OKC the last couple postseasons, the way that they've been able to perform in the bounce back role, and plus just this price at 3.5 kind of feels a little bit off to me based on how the rest of this series has gone. That said, if you like one side or the other, do you play the alts? Because aside from that game one double overtime
Spreads
game,
are relevant.
Yeah, they have been all blowouts.
Spreads are relevant. I'd say all of your data in the NBA going forward needs to be adjusted, because none of it factors in games against someone named Victor Wembanyama.
Okay. Fair. We'll discuss this more a little bit later. When we come back, let's do that hockey. Mike Palm joining us next to discuss.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The Carolina Hurricanes 1 win away from cementing their spot in the Stanley Cup final for the first time in 20 years. Can they do it tonight on home ice? Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Swedelson with you back here on Money Moves to help us break it all down. Excited to have VP of Operations here at Circa, where we're broadcasting from, Mike Palm, join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, also host of Palm Saturdays on 104.3 The Score out there in Chicago. And while we're used to having you in studio, Mike, I know you're busy today. Appreciate you still making some time for us on the road.
Thanks, Stormy. Good morning, Dustin. Yeah, I'm actually on my way to a Congresswoman Dina Titus fundraising lunch. Of course, she's leading the fight to try to get the law changed that limits deductions on gambling losses to 90% of actual. So Derek and I will be there this afternoon, so I apologize that I'm not in studio.
I thought maybe it was me. You know, I wore cologne to make sure I smelled okay for you. I didn't want to offend you. So where are we going after this? Are we going to Spencer Pratt to campaign for him in Los Angeles? Is that the next move?
I'll be back to work as soon as the luncheon is over.
You're a knucklehead. Let's talk through tonight on the ice, though, because Carolina has been getting bet out to a minus 250 favorite on the money line. Montreal, you can get over 2-1 right now. And we've seen in these end-of-series situations, Montreal has been able to rise to the occasion, but Carolina has just been so dominant in the shot share the last 3 games of this series. Seems like they found their game since that rusty series opener. How do you see it playing out tonight?
Well, it's a very, very important game for Circa in that the Love Island season debut is Tuesday. And if Carolina wins tonight, we will have to play the volume of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals at Stadium Swim Tuesday and pass on the Love Island. So we're hoping for a Canadians win so that we can have Love Island on Tuesday and Game 1 on Thursday. I'm very disappointed that Marty San Luis has not been able to make really any adjustments in this series. You cannot think that shooting the puck on net 4 or 5 times a period is going to beat Carolina, who's going to have 35 shots on goal plus in each game. So the only good thing is that they're away from the Bell Center, where they've been terrible in the playoffs. So that gives you some slimmer of hope. I don't see any eventuality where Montreal will win this series, but $2 is a bridge too far for me. I mean, if you're going to bet this game, you would have to take Montreal, or at least look at Montreal plus a puck and a half.
No, I'm with you, Mike. I was thinking about taking the plus 205 right now. In terms of the total at 5.5, I keep going back and forth on how Montreal needs to do this if they're going to wind up making this series interesting for us. Do you anticipate, with just 25 shots on net over the last 2 games, we get a more aggressive attack on offense and doing something differently? You alluded to St. Louis not making changes. Do you anticipate a stronger attack offensively for Montreal, or do they sit back and just load up on defense to keep it close?
Well, he talked about making changes between games 3 and 4, and nothing happened. So I don't know how you can rely on that. The problem, Dustin, though, I will warn you of this, is my philosophy. Once you get to elimination games in the Stanley Cup playoff, it's very hard to play the full game under, because teams are going to be really aggressive in pulling their goalie, because, you know, you go home if you lose. So normally when it's down 3-1, San Luis might pull his goalie with 3.5 minutes to go. You might see him pull the goalie with 6 minutes left and leave him out. So I stay away from betting unders in these circumstances.
The thing I kind of worry about with Montreal more than anything else right now is I think it looks like, at least, fatigue is just really set in with them with how much hockey they've had to play in the postseason. Meanwhile, I mentioned the rust Carolina had in game 1. They've just seemed fresher throughout the rest of the way to this point. Should Carolina win, whether it be tonight or at some point in this series, and go on to make the Stanley Cup final, who's your Conn Smythe for them right now? Is it Freddie Anderson, or if not, where else would you be looking from a skater standpoint?
It's hard to believe that Freddie Anderson could be the Conn Smythe. But if you look at the numbers, you have to throw out the regular season. You have to throw out his last 7 years and just look at the numbers during this playoff run. Although teams haven't put a lot of pucks on him, and the save percentage is not as great because of the low shots. Philadelphia didn't put a lot of pucks on him. Ottawa didn't put a lot of pucks on him. It would, for me, regrettably to say, it would have to be Anderson right now. But I've obviously, as you know, Stormy, tried to focus on the Golden Knights side of it.
Well, let's talk about that, because right now, you know, with Carter Hart playing the way that he is, Mike, and that has been a spot for VGK that's plagued them for a while, is the consistent goalie play. Do you believe that the voters, who, with all the stuff he's had going on off the ice, do you believe the voters would actually vote for him if they believe he's the most outstanding player?
Hard to handicap. I don't think that the American voters paid as much attention to that trial as the Canadian voters did. I think it was a much bigger deal in Canada. I mean, are you going to not vote him because of poor judgment? They were all acquitted of any crime, right? I mean, very forcefully by that female Canadian judge. So in the eyes of the law, there is no sin there. Now, is it poor judgment to go to a hotel room with 5 other guys because there's a girl there that, you know, I don't know. Are you going to deny somebody a Conn Smythe because of that decision that he made when he was, 19 years old or 18 years old 7 years ago? I find it hard to believe, but the odds market tells you there's so much trepidation because Carter Hart should be at least the second shot behind maybe Marner here, and yet he's still way out there. I saw him as high as 20-1 the other day. I mean, you would have thought after his performance in Game 4 in the entire series against Colorado, he would have been at least the co-favorite.
I was looking at the odds this morning and just checking kind of the disparity in Conn Smythe between a couple of the big books and DraftKings and FanDuel. Carter Hart's 12-1 at DraftKings. You can get 27-1 still on Carter Hart in the market. And I think it's for exactly that reason. It is just the off-ice questions. And I would anticipate fans and bettors anticipating voters just wouldn't want to have their name attached to him. Mike Palm joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, VP of Operations at Circa, Golden Gate, and the D. You are an aficionado, I think is fair to say, of a lot of different women's sports, and the Women's College World Series is another one of those sports you have delved into. We've got the first day underway yesterday, 2 more games today. Texas Tech, your favorite to win it all. Any strong opinions on the Women's College World Series?
Well, we bet Tennessee going into the regionals at 15-1. You still could have got them at 11-1 after the regional, or 9-1 going into the College World Series. I like that they were on the other side of the bracket of Alabama and UCLA and even Arkansas and Nebraska. I thought that was a much harder side of the bracket. Yes, Texas was the defending champs, and Texas Tech has their pitcher and can hit the ball. But I thought Tennessee had a better draw. This is a huge game coming up tomorrow morning against Texas Tech. I think the team that wins that game should move to favoritism if it's Tennessee, and because now you've got to get beat twice by the losers bracket, and then you get 2 out of 3 against whoever comes out of the other side. I thought it was fascinating. The advancements in offense in women's softball are pretty stunning, and the amount of home runs that are hit today compared to even 5 or 6 years ago.
Mike, about 2 minutes ago, the Cy Young markets, I think in both the AL and NL right now, are pretty interesting. Obviously, Sanchez is on this historic run of 44 innings pitched without a run allowed, but Mizorowski's been insane. Ohtani's looked awesome. Skeens has been susceptible. And then in the American League, Schlittler's your favorite at plus 110, but I'm really wondering how the Yankees manage his innings down the stretch because they have a lot of pressure on them to win a World Series this year. And then after that, there really isn't a strong number 2 that jumps off the page. How are you feeling about where we sit right now in the Cy Young markets?
It's a great question, Dustin, because in the National League, there's 5 guys that are worthy of it. And maybe Skeens is the least worthy, who was the preseason favorite. I have Sanchez 8-1 and Ohtani 35-1 from preseason, and let's see where it goes. I mean, obviously, Mizorowski's been great. On the other side of it, you're right. It's Schlittler in the field, which makes Davis Martin with the White Sox really interesting to me. At 8-1 and a sub-2 ERA, and they've played really well behind this kid, and the strikeout numbers have spiked way up this year. I can draw lines or find problems with everybody else other than Schlittler in that race. So I think even at 20-1, Davis Martin's worth a bet right now.
I'm with you. Before his start yesterday, I made note of it. He was like 55, 60-1. He's now down to 22-1 at DraftKings. Yeah. I think it's real what we're seeing from him, and he's a big reason why the White Sox might legitimately contend for the postseason here.
You can still get him at 4-1 to make the postseason. Look at the American League. Tampa Bay and New York, put 2 in there. The winner of the West, put 1 in there. Put Cleveland in. That leaves 2 spots. Who else in the Central is going to beat the White Sox? I don't think anybody. Detroit's fallen too far behind. Maybe it's Toronto. I think they should be favored to make the playoffs at this point. Anthony Kay moved sides of the rubber. He's been much better in his last 3 starts. I love the way this team plays small ball. I think the White Sox are in the postseason.
Yeah, look, and I'll agree with you here, Mike. We only got about 35 seconds, but they've got plenty of pitching right now. They just called up the Sandlin kid who was efficient in his first start. The White Sox have been the best offense in baseball going back like 35, 45 days. It's not a fluke, people. I think it's for real.
Mike, appreciate your time. Don't work too hard. Keep fighting the good fight out there.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Mike Palm, everybody. Follow him on X as well, at Circa Maestro. Appreciate him making the time, and we will get him back Friday in studio for our usual half hour. We got to step aside here, and Dustin, I know you have several MLB plays on the card today, which we will get to coming up.
We're going to self-sabotage.
There we go.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're cruising on a Friday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, SiriusXM channel 158. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, any of our great terrestrial radio stations across the country, or YouTube TV, VSiN Watch app. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Swedelson with you live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. And after yesterday, it was a pretty short slate in Major League Baseball, although you crushed it with the picks yesterday.
Had a good day.
Well done.
I've been on a good run. I'm very scared about jinxing it and acknowledging it out loud, but here we are doing it. So this is about the downfall.
You know what?
We're ready.
Actually, that was great because that's exactly how JVT would respond if I celebrated anything good he did. So you're fitting in right away.
Well, I find this is how it goes. I'm always transparent about the wins and losses. When I talk about the losses, people assume that means that I'm just losing all the time, but I'm talking about the losses because I'm frustrated. When you're winning, it's like a double-edged sword.
Yep.
You come off as kind of an annoying person if you're bragging constantly how well you're doing. But then at the same point in time, you don't want to only be talking about how bad you're doing.
Sure, 100%. What I will say, though, is one of the games you played yesterday, we acknowledged it was a bit of a fishy line out there for Atlanta. Cheap money line on the Braves. That gets home as they end up winning 2 of 3 against the Red Sox. So yesterday for me, I'm at home. I've got the game on MLB TV. It's 2-2, I think.
Yeah.
So it's 2-2. I go in the kitchen to make a late lunch. I come back, and all of a sudden it's 7-2. So Ronald Acuna Jr., funnest name to say in baseball, by the way, hits a grand slam and then some, and it's off and running for Atlanta.
Yeah, look, Tolley was good, man. He gave him almost 5 innings, 4 2/3, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts against this Braves lineup. Atlanta answered first. I was actually a bit nervous because Boston responded right away and tied it up. And I thought, you know what? Maybe there's a reason why the line was fishy. And then all of a sudden, the bullpen got into a little bit of trouble for the Red Sox. Bases loaded, and Acuna over the monster. I was like, all right, cool. We're in a good spot. Glad we got that cheap price. That's 2 days in a row, by the way, that we had a fishy price trying to fade 2 Cy Young award contenders. Sale yesterday, Sanchez the day before. You end up getting the discount if you're willing to take that chance. I think a lot of us get caught up in, football season steam. And I do think, like, in a lot of levels when you're betting on a point spread, the steam makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't always work in baseball. Like, I've seen it too many times where the steam goes in my favor, the bet doesn't have a chance. I go against the steam, and it winds up working out for me. I just think you don't need to be scared of that. Just because the numbers moving against you doesn't mean you're on the wrong side all the time.
So Atlanta now pushes it forward, opening up a 3-game set in Cincinnati. Heftier price today on Atlanta on the road again. Grant Holmes going -143 on the money line. Chris Paddock, your starter for Cincinnati, around +119, +125, depending on that range. Total here 9.5, and all the juice is on the under, up to around -120. How do you see it?
Okay, it's not going to work every time, but when Chris Paddock's on the hill and he's taking on one of the better offenses in baseball, I love the idea of going team total. Now, when it's Atlanta and they're capable of doing what they can do offensively, 3rd in runs per game, they're also number 2 in scoring on the road at 5.25 runs per game, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a tax. You're not going to get an over 4.5 on the team total. It's going to be 5.5, but we're getting a plus price, plus $1.10. Braves run scoring, the last 3 times they've seen Chris Paddock, they've scored 6, 10, and 6. Paddock is a gift, man. As long as teams are going to make the mistake and have him in their major league rotation, he allows way too much contact. He is not the guy he was early in his career when he jumped out, looked like a potential, middle of the rotation guy. But in his starts this year, teams are scoring 6.11 runs per game against him. Last 3 outings, St. Louis hit 8, Cleveland had 7, Philly had 7. That's 7.33 over that span. Braves hitters overall an 814 OPS against him. I love the Braves team total. I don't care that's a little bit higher at 5.5. Give me that plus 110.
Okay, I'm for it. The Mets, by the way, beat this Reds team yesterday to break up what was a 5-game losing streak. They've dropped 7 of their last 9, hosting the Marlins today. Slight home favorites, -112 with Freddie Peralta going. Max Meyer, your starter for Miami, -107. Run total 7.5.
Okay, let's file this one away and think about it for later. Can Max Meyer contend for National League Cy Young? I mean that legitimately. Feels like he's a little bit off the radar, but if you look at the numbers, a kid who had a live arm and a ton of strikeouts when he first got called up has really started to become a pitcher, to find his form, not just a thrower, kind of like Chase Burns has done with Cincinnati, and I don't think he's getting enough hype. He dominated the Mets the last time he saw them. Saturday, 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 8 strikeouts. 3 career starts for him against the Metsies, 17 1/3, 15 strikeouts, a 2.08 ERA. Mets offense 27th in runs per game, 1.57 runs per game over their last 7. That includes the series with the Fish last weekend. On the other side of the bump, Freddie Peralta, he's been okay, 3.52 ERA. Last start against Miami, he allowed 4 earned runs on the road. Miami's offense is the 8th worst on the road, under 4 runs per game, 3.96. We're going to go under 7.5 because I don't buy the Mets offense getting right against Meyer. I do think he has their number, and I think Peralta gets right coming back home where Miami struggles to score runs on the road.
I know you said file it away, But the Cy Young element of it, and we brought it up last segment with Mike Palm. We talked a lot about it yesterday. But I want to follow up on it because there was an article up at MLB.com that came out today. Does the NL have the most loaded Cy Young field of all time? And we talk about those names at the top: Christopher Sanchez, Jacob Mizorowski, Paul Skeens, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it goes on and on. But then there are these other guys who are even deeper. The depth, I feel like, of the NL Cy Young candidates really, really stands out.
Yeah, he's 100-1, Meyer, in the National League. There's a reason for it. Like, I feel like people go, oh my God, 100-1. Why do you like it? Because it's 100-1. That's why I like it. And I just want it to shorten up. And if he can become real and that ticket pays a lot, like, let's use Matt Humans for an example. And I keep using this over and over again, but I think it's perfect. He has 300-1 on Cam Schlittler. I don't care if Cam Schlittler wins the award. It's officially a great bet right now today because you will get so much back on that ticket if it's right that you can take shots now on so many different guys as their numbers are constantly moving in the market. That's what you're looking for with 100-1. You don't need it to hit. You need it to become real. Then you do something with it. At this point, I find a hard time making a case against Sanchez, but it's 2026. Starting pitchers are constantly getting hurt or missing starts, and he's so critical for Philadelphia in getting to the postseason and trying to get over the hump there with Don Mattingly as their manager now. You don't know how that gets managed. There's questions about everyone involved. Mizorowski, it's the innings and the pressure on him to be that ace for Milwaukee, for them to kind of go against some of the demons that they've been fighting in the playoffs.
I would say injuries, too, for him potentially. He throws so hard. Like, you never know when that could go wrong.
Paul Skeens doesn't look right. Yep. Ohtani pitches every sixth day, right? Chris Sale never throws a ton of innings in a few years span. Chase Burns is a kid. I mean, Yamamoto at 28-1 is kind of interesting at 28-1.
Well, and then Kyle Harrison cut down from 75-1 to 30-1 in the last week and a half.
I have 100-1 from 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what? He's been so hot. Why not? Literally, he had like 10 or 11 strikeouts in a game. It was still sitting there at 100-1. I said, you know what? Right off that game, I'll just bet it and see what happens. That's what we're looking at here. It all may be a waste of time. There is part of me that believes that this market is kind of like the World Series market. We are all just talking and putting noise into the atmosphere, making the case for everyone when it's likely going to be the Dodgers in the World Series, and it's likely going to be Chris Sanchez winning the Cy Young Award.
Do want to remind you guys, while we're talking baseball, though, up at VSiN.com each and every day, there's so much great content over there. I'm looking right now. Josh Applebaum has his top picks and the betting splits breakdown for the day. Greg Peterson, his plays. Adam Burke has his daily article. We've got the Opta AI projections available as well. And our new offer is almost over. We're just a couple days away from this offer going away. Sunday's the last day. If you want to be a full-time subscriber for VSiN Pro and get the discounted rate, use our promo code PRO. You get 14 months of access to everything we do at the website for just $199. In addition to all the articles and tools, you also get the special edition betting guides as they come out. Okay, real quickly before we go to the break, while on the theme of pitchers, I know there are a couple pitcher props that you like on the card today as well.
Yeah, I thought this number on Logan Webb strikeouts was just a little bit low, and we can get a plus price on it. So we're going to look at San Francisco at Colorado, which, you know, you're on the road with Logan Webb. You're usually playing with fire. I understand that. Colorado specifically, I'm sure it feels scary, but I think he's very much capable of 5 strikeouts against this Rockies team. First of all, they're 28th in baseball in strikeout rate. They swing and miss a ton. His strikeouts at Colorado in the one start on the road at Coors last year, he had 7. He's gone over 4.5 strikeouts in all 4 road starts this year. He may not look like the Cy Young contender people like me thought he was going to be this year. I bet him at 17-1. That does not have a chance. But 4.5 feels very low, and I believe Opta AI actually likes him as well. If you go to VSiN.com/MLB props, Logan Webb is one of the edges to the over. In fact, I think he might be the number 1 edge to the over for strikeouts. He is. They haven't projected for 6.37. That is 30.6% to the over. I do think 4.5 is low, and they're saying DraftKings has plus 120 at over 4.5. I love that. The last one, we're going to go under on Zach Wheeler. Strikeouts, 5.5 at plus 115. Dodgers, 4th lowest K rate in baseball, but last 3 games, 12.6%. That is the lowest in baseball. I think they're finding their stride offensively. I think Wheeler has been good. I have him 50-1 for Cy Young. I kind of regret that ticket because while he's looked good, I think he's hittable. I don't think the velocity is quite there like it normally is. I think the Dodgers might knock him around just a little bit, at least make contact. I don't think Wheeler is the same K guy he was prior to his surgery, so I'm going to go under 5.5 Ks at plus 115.
Our guy Will Hill has a couple MLB bets as well. We'll hit on when we come back from the break. Plus, he has an absurd Western Conference Final MVP ticket. Can they get it home? Game 7 could determine it all. So stick around. We'll discuss it all. Looking forward to having Will join the program next on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Asking you shall receive. We're headed to Game 7 in the Western Conference Final. OKC, San Antonio, Spurs get it done in the bounce back last night. And we got a big one coming up tomorrow. Stormy, Buonantony, Dustin, Swedelson with you. Excited to have VSiN's own Will Hill join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. VSiN contributor, writer, Fox Sports. If you haven't checked out the Shoulda Bet More podcast, you're an absolute dud because you need to. He's doing great stuff over there. You can follow him on X at @NotTheWillHill. Hill. Will, thank you for joining us. Before we get into some of the tickets, I know you have an interesting conversation for Western Conference Final MVP in particular. How did you unpack last night and early thoughts on what we might see tomorrow?
Yeah, I guess it's a good reminder in sports betting, not just in basketball, but all these sports, not to ignore the last thing you saw, but don't overreact to it. And especially in the NBA playoffs, these games can look very different game to game. You change venues, coming off a loss, things like that. So not overreacting. It's hard to do. It's hard to watch something for 2.5 hours and then just completely phase out of your mind. But that's been a good skill in this series because these teams have bounced back off of losses, and one game does not look like the next. So that's been interesting. Very rare do you get a 7-game series with all blowouts. I know Warriors-Cavs in 2016 is one that comes to mind where Game 7 was really good, but the first 6 were blowouts. So we'll see. If you're telling me of a very strong opinion, a lot of conviction here in Game 7 either way, I would love to hear that case because it's been a very wonky series. Home court has mattered a little bit, but not completely. There's been a lot of blowouts. There's been a lot of injuries. I find it hard to have conviction on a side here. I ultimately, I'll go with the theme of the series here, that these teams bounce back off of losses at home. I'll say OKC bounces back. They win a fairly close game, 7 or 8 points, and it's interesting. Not just in this series, these playoffs, the spread just doesn't seem to matter. It's like these teams win and cover or lose and get blown out. The points very rarely come into effect. But I'll say OKC wins a relatively close game and goes to the finals. As far as props, I was looking at Lou Dory. Might be the ones that have to go. He's the he's the office space. What is it you say you do here? He doesn't shoot threes well, but he shoots a lot of them. He fouls a lot. I just don't know what he's giving them. And if you've noticed, Dagnall has a very short leash with him. But if you're going to have a short leash with him, why start him? So 2 of 11 from 3, he just doesn't check a lot of boxes. I could see his minutes being cut. But then again, 4.5 points is a pretty low number at home, with all those attempts, even if you get half of that. That's just a very low bar to go over. But maybe PRA, points, rebounds, assists, under could be a way to go because I could see his minutes really, really getting slashed.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday, Will, and handle the TPS report. Good office space reference. How about the total of 212.5? Just curious your thoughts on this because Stormy highlighted at the start of the show, we were on an 18 out of 25 run to the under up until this postseason in Game 7s, where now we've gone over in 4 straight. And initially I said, well, what are we looking at for a total here? I thought it'd be like 214, 215.5. We're sitting at 212.5 for Game 7. Do you think that's an over adjustment and maybe the over might be the play, or do you think the under continues?
I'm just so trained to think Game 7 go under, but and I'm stubborn in terms of that. But I'm also, aware that you're being taxed now, and the cat's out of the bag, and eventually all edges kind of die sooner or later. So it's probably properly priced. I would say if I had to bet it, which I'm not going to, it would be under just because that's just my natural reflex in Game 7, especially with a chance to go to the finals. That team's a little tight, nervous, pace slows down, all of those things. But that's, of course, like you mentioned, kind of baked into the number here. So it would be just a lean towards the under.
Yeah, books have been making money on that reflex this postseason, 4-0 to the over in Game 7 so far. As Will Hill joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. You, my friend, have a 100-1 shot on Alex Caruso for a Western Conference Final MVP. He is currently down to 15-1, shorter in some other spots that I've seen. How are you feeling? And what is the hedge option, if anything? Like, how are you going to try to monetize that bad boy?
I'm not going to hedge. There's no clean hedge. I mean, people say, "Oh, bet SGA." Well, what if the Spurs win? There's really no way to do it where you can lock in a profit. There's no cash out option. So I made the bet. Just got to live with it. You know, if I could get a certain amount of bang for my buck, like value back, and get a reasonable cash out, I might consider it. But you know, the odds are obviously in my favor from when I bet it to now, but it's not like overwhelming. So just kind of hope for the best. If I don't sound hopeful, it's because I'm not. I've gotten burned, as we all have as bettors. These awards, these long shots, you get a good number, you get ahead of it. This shouldn't be 80-1. This shouldn't be 70-1. You have the right idea, but the hard part is getting that thing across the finish line. So we'll see. We've had some voters express, enthusiasm for Caruso. I don't think it's dead, but I'm not going to get my hopes up, even though I do think he has a shot here.
Hey, all you can ask when you bet a long shot is for it to be live. I think you're very much live here in this situation, especially with Game 7 at home. But that doesn't mean you cash it, so I'm with you. You'll find a way to get creative and make some money on it. I know you. Let's go to baseball, where I hope you and I are going to make money on this game, because I feel like you might be in the same boat as me. If Chris Paddock is taking the mound, I'm looking at the team total of the team he's facing. Braves at the Reds, Paddock at home at Great American Ballpark, taking on this Atlanta offense. Total in the game is 9.5. Cincinnati's plus 119 at home, minus 143 with Grant Holmes on the other side. You're going to go over team total 4.5. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, give me Braves team total over. Paddock is one of these guys. There's like a handful of these guys every year. Corbin, Matt Harvey for a while, Dallas Keuchel, where every time he takes the ball, every fifth day, you go, how is this guy still in the league? And to me, that's how I feel with Paddock. Got released by the Marlins, picked up by the Reds, where he's actually pitched okay, but he gets hit hard. He doesn't have a lot of velocity. He just doesn't do a lot of things that are favorable in terms of his profile. Atlanta gets the 9 at-bats as a road team here, so I think Atlanta will be able to score 5 or 6 plus runs against Paddock. This is a team total over. You got to pay a little juice, $1.40, $1.45 or so, but I'm okay with it with the extra at bat and considering the matchup here.
Before the last break, we were talking a little bit about Marlins Mets as well, because our boy Dustin had an angle on it. You're taking a slightly different approach looking at the first 3 innings. How did you end up settling on this thing?
Yeah, I've been playing these first 3 unders more and more so often, and I know this from betting first 5s. You bet a first 5 under, and it looks great. Then the 4th or the 5th, it comes apart because that's the 2nd, 3rd time through the lineup. Just more stuff can go wrong, and hitters tend to hit better 2nd, 3rd time through the lineup. That first 3 under, you get in, you get out. You're basically 1 time through the lineup, and you're in and you're out. Like the pitching matchup, I really don't like either lineup. It does bother me a little bit. This is a rematch of what we saw 5 or 6 days ago with Peralta against Max Meyer, I think, on last Saturday afternoon. It was a 4-0 game. Both guys pitched okay. Meyer was really good, actually. Peralta was not as good, gave up a couple homers. But to me, 1-1 after 3, get in, get out. I like that first 3 under.
Let's go to your Yankees on the road in Sacramento, taking on your old friend, Luis Severino, who stinks at home. A's plus 119, Rodon's laying 143 on the road. Total's 9.5. You're looking at the total. What are you going to do here?
Yeah, I think you can really just blindly bet these overs in Sacramento. You do okay. Throw in the fact that you've got 2 pretty explosive lineups. The Yankees have been super up and down all year. They're red hot, they're ice cold, and vice versa. Maybe this is one of these hot streaks. They swept the Royals, won the last game against Tampa here. So they've got a lot of offense. The A's have a lot of offense. Like you said, Severino's been bad at home. Rodon can give up some homers. So to me, I don't play a lot of overs. I usually lean towards these unders for the full game. But I would expect some home runs, some fireworks tonight, to see a bunch of runs. So over 9.5 is a play for me. And by the way, I do think the Yankees in that $1.80 range or so to win the East is a good bet. They're going to catch Tampa. They're better than Tampa. I know Fried's hurt, but they just have too much pitching, too much power. Yankees, I know people don't want to lay $1.80 now to cash that in October, but Yankees to win the AL East to me is a good bet.
Yeah, and life's getting real for Tampa right now. I think maybe we're going to start to see them come back to the pack. Before we let you go here in about a minute, Will, I jumped in on Garrett Cole, 100-1 AL Cy Young. I know you talked about it earlier this week with the Bear, Chris Felica. Do you think that's something that's legit where he can really contend despite missing, the first month and a half of the season?
It's possible. Again, you're grabbing a number similar to the Caruso bet when I made it. You're just grabbing a number, hoping to get out in front of it. These pitchers get hurt a lot, which, could even the playing field. Do I think it's likely going to get home? No, he has missed a lot of time, but I do think there's enough runway where if he had a 1.4, 1.5 ERA, bunch of strikeouts, some other guys got hurt, I think he's in the mix. So I do not mind the bet, 100, 150-1. I think that's a solid price, and even worth a small bet, I do think there's some value there.
Well, great stuff, buddy. Thank you for the time today. We appreciate you.
I see you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend. Will Hill, follow him on X at @NotTheWillHill. Again, download, subscribe, Should Have Bet More podcast, all of the work on VSiN and Fox Sports as well.
He's the man. He is the best live bettor on the network. Facts. Like, I did so many live betting shows with him. I learned so much from the guy. I know it's weird when we give each other props. Everyone thinks we're, competitive with each other, but we genuinely, like each other and learn from each other. Doing live betting shows with Will is literally like taking a class in live betting.
That's awesome. Yeah, he does an absolutely phenomenal job. We got to step aside here. When we come back, we're resetting for hour 2 of the program. I know it's the off season, but there is still so much going on. People talking, OTAs underway, everybody getting crazy. We got some news for you when we come back.